Snow across Scotland, easterly winds, temperatures potentially dropping to -10 Celsius. That is what the models are beginning to show for late January. And if you have been following the weather patterns closely, you will know this is not idle speculation. I have been examining the latest model output this morning, and I want to take you through what we are looking at for the next 10 days or so. There is a lot to cover, and some of it is genuinely quite interesting from a meteorological perspective. Right now, conditions across the country are rather dull. Low cloud, outbreaks of rain and drizzle, murky conditions in many areas. If you are in Scotland, you might be seeing some brighter spells across central and northern parts, but for much of England and Wales, it is grey skies and on and off rain. Temperatures are mild for the time of year, around 10 or 11 Celsius across southern parts, between 5 and 7 degrees further north. This is all courtesy of low-pressure systems moving in from the Atlantic, but they are moving slowly. An area of high pressure over Europe is acting as a block, preventing these weather systems from pushing through quickly. So we are stuck in this rather unsettled, mild, damp pattern for now. Through Tuesday, the remnants of the weekend weather systems will clear out into the North Sea. Most places become dry and bright for a time. However, the next area of low pressure brings rain and stronger winds to Northern Ireland, Western Wales, and parts of Cornwall by the afternoon. Expect some gales around the coast. Breezy elsewhere, but dry with some sunny spells. Temperatures up to 10 or 11 degrees in the southeast, generally between 7 and 8 elsewhere. Now, here is where it becomes interesting. The models are showing a significant pattern change developing around the 24th to the 29th of January. Possibly longer, possibly shorter, but the signals are becoming more consistent across the different model runs. Let me explain what is happening meteorologically. Currently, we have low pressure out to the west and higher pressure building towards Scandinavia. This is creating a battleground scenario. The jet stream, which normally drives our weather systems from west to east, is being pushed southwards. Instead of weather systems sweeping across the UK, they are sliding down towards Spain and France. When this happens, the wind direction changes. Instead of mild southwesterly winds bringing Atlantic air, we turn to an easterly or southeasterly direction, and that brings cold air from the continent. The German model, the icon, shows this transition beginning around the 23rd and 24th. The wind backs from southeasterly to easterly as high pressure establishes itself to the north and northwest of the UK, up towards Greenland and Scandinavia. Not dramatically cold on that run, but a noticeable change from the mild conditions we are experiencing now. The American GFS model has been particularly interesting. The 12Z run shows a more potent cold spell developing. By Sunday next weekend, the wind turns properly easterly. High pressure anchors itself to the north, and an area of low pressure slides southwards through France. What happens next on that run is noteworthy. Around the 27th, an area of low pressure bumps into this cold easterly airflow. When a weather system meets cold air, precipitation falls as snow rather than rain. The GFS is showing a significant snow event with that feature, no marginality about it on that run. The cold air is well established, so all areas could potentially see snow. After that system clears through, the GFS keeps the cold air in place. The -10 Celsius line at 850 hectopascals, roughly the level we use to assess surface temperatures, sits over the UK into the final frames of the run. That would mean bitterly cold conditions for several days. The Canadian model, the GEM, tells a similar story. It shows the turning point around the 25th and 26th of January. Blocking establishes to the north. Low pressure slides through France. The winds turn easterly and temperatures drop gradually. By the end of the run, the -10 line is just offshore, waiting to push in. That would bring conditions similar to the beast from the east we saw in 2018. Not quite the same level, perhaps, but properly cold air being dragged westwards from the continent. Now, I need to be clear about uncertainty here. The AI-based models are showing more variability, the ECMWF AI run, and others are flipping between cold and zonal solutions. That is not unusual at this range. We are talking about a week away, and model agreement at that distance is never guaranteed. But the ensemble spread is interesting. If you look at the range of possible outcomes the models are calculating, there is clear support for colder scenarios. The GFS operational run is sitting at the cold end of that spread as a cold outlier, but it is not alone down there. Several ensemble members are tracking similar solutions. The background signals support the cold scenario as well. The Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation are both trending negative. When both of these indices are negative, blocking patterns are more likely to form to the north or northeast of the UK. That is exactly what we need for an easterly outbreak. The UK Met Office model is also now favouring low pressure sliding southwards through France with winds turning easterly, at least for Scotland initially. That cold air would then filter southwards through the following days. So what does this mean practically? For this week, conditions remain mild and unsettled. Keep the umbrella handy. Tuesday looks the best day for many areas with some dry and bright spells once the morning murk clears. By the end of the week, we could see snow on the higher ground of Scotland as the pattern begins to shift, but for most, it remains on the mild side with winds from the south. The significant change, if it happens, looks most likely from around the 24th onwards. If you are planning travel or outdoor activities for that period, keep an eye on the forecasts as they develop. The models will firm up their predictions as we get closer. For those who remember the Beast from the East in February and March 2018, that event brought Siberian air across the UK, with temperatures dropping to -14 in places, and significant snow even across southern England. The current pattern has some similarities, though whether it reaches that intensity remains to be seen. The blocking is not as strong in the current runs as it was before the 2018 event, but it is building. Scotland will likely see the cold air first, if this pattern verifies. Wintry showers packing into the east coast, particularly the central belt, Aberdeenshire, and the northeast. If the models are correct, Edinburgh could see significant snow this time around after missing out on the heavier falls earlier in the month. For northern England and the Midlands, the transition would follow a day or two later. Yorkshire and the northeast coast would be exposed to those easterly showers off the North Sea. The south and southeast would turn cold, but snow there depends on whether any weather systems bump into the cold air at the right time. The GFS is showing that possibility around the 27th. London and the home counties rarely see the heaviest snow and easterly outbreaks because they are further from the North Sea fetch, but accumulations are possible if a low-pressure system interacts with the cold air. For those concerned about elderly relatives or vulnerable neighbours, now is a good time to check in and make sure they have heating and supplies sorted. Cold weather payments get triggered when temperatures drop below zero for 7 consecutive days, and some of you may be eligible if this cold spell verifies. If you are driving, particularly later in the month, ensure your vehicle is prepared. Check antifreeze levels, battery condition, and tyre tread. Keep a blanket, torch, and some food and water in the boot if you are making longer journeys. Roads that are perfectly fine in mild conditions become treacherous quickly when temperatures drop and easterly winds bring snow showers. For Scotland specifically, if the models verify, grit your paths multiple times rather than just once. In proper cold, the salt needs frequent reapplication. I will continue monitoring the model output and will update as the situation develops. The next few days will be crucial in determining whether this cold spell comes off as shown or whether the Atlantic fights back. At the moment, the balance of evidence suggests we are in for a notable change. How potent it becomes will depend on how strongly the blocking establishes. Winter has been rather quiet across much of the country so far. That may be about to change.